Hello! It is early July 2023 and I'm in the Seven Devils of Hales Canyon National Recreation Area, Idaho. This is my first ever backpacking trip in Idaho, and if the scenery just from the trailhead is anything to go by, looks like I'm in for a pretty spectacular hike. My plan is to do what I'm calling the Seven Devils Loop on steroids. I'm ready to hit the trail. Not far down the start of the trail is a quaint little post house. My plan today has me going about 7 miles. Everything on this trip is subject to change. Let's see how it goes. Entering into the Hales Canyon idleness. Looking up at the Devil's Tooth. The Tower of Babel. Made it to the intersection that heads to Cannon Lake. I'm gonna go up and check it out on this pretty sunny day. Lower Cannon Lake. Quite a basin here. Excellent. I was gonna go about 2.5 miles farther today, but Cannon Lake is just too pretty to pass up. So I'm gonna find a camp spot on the shores, get set up, and enjoy this incredible area. According to Nez Perce legend, the Seven Devils Mountains used to be 7 gigantic monsters that gobbled up children. Each year, the bloodthirsty devils would come from the west to inflict their terror. Home sweet home. I've got camp set up a little above Lower Canyon Lake. Tucked in, protected, and not a bad view from my front porch. On this trip, I'm using the U.S. Forest Service Hales Canyon National Recreation Area and Wilderness map. This is the largest trail map I've ever owned. Douglas Lorraine's guidebook, Backpacking Idaho, served as inspiration for the route. Let's take a look at the map for day 1. Starting at the Windy Saddle trailhead, I cut down past the Seven Devils Work Center along Trail 101 to connect with Trail 126, which leads to Lower Canyon Lake, where I'm set up. Day 1 was about 5 miles. Day 1 has been a great start to my trip here in the Seven Devils. The hiking was really astoundingly beautiful, even more than I expected, so I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what's coming up next. And I've got a beautiful area to bed down for the night here at Cannon Lake. Camp set up, I've got dinner in me, and that'll be it for day 1. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 2, my backpack in the Seven Devils. Had a calm, relaxing night last night. When I went to bed about 10:30, it was still as bright as day. I don't know what time it gets dark. Had a good evening hanging out by the campfire that Garrett and Misty built. They were nice enough to invite me over. My plan today includes a couple of side trips if conditions allow. I'm going to finish up breakfast, get camp packed up, and it'll be time to hit the trail. Finishing off the spur up to the Cannon Lakes. Now I'm back on the main Seven Devils Loop. Big shout out to my new friends Misty and Garrett. I forgot to restock my toilet paper coming into this trip, and they very generously supplied me with enough to get me through the next 6 days. So thank you very much. Nice couple, glad to meet them, and cool to have some friends from Boise, Idaho. The lows last night dropped to the low 40s. It is warming up quickly with this sun. Crossing Hanson Creek. Looking through the trees, back the way I came, these peaks must be the Goblin and the Ogre. Dog Creek. I'm gonna now try to break off the main loop trail and follow a side use trail up to Dog Lake. I did pass a group who had gone up there earlier and they said pretty steep, pretty tricky, but I'm hoping to check it out. A sweet waterfall coming down Dog Creek. The climb up to Dog Lake is hella steep, but the trail itself is pretty easy to follow. Dead on trail ahead of me is a mountain lion. Holy moly, I've never seen one before. He's right by the water, so he probably can't hear me. Oh my goodness, it's a big old mountain lion. I'm stalking the mountain lion. He's using the trail just like I am, heading up to Dog Lake. Better call it Cat Lake now. He just saw me and spooked off trail. That was incredible. I can't believe I saw a mountain lion that didn't see me first. I liked it much better when I could see the cougar, because now it could be anywhere, watching and waiting. I'm gonna have to come back down this way as well. Flanked by the Devil's Farm and Twin Imps, Cat Lake, the body of water formerly known as Dog Lake, is well worth the robust climb that it takes to get up here to check it out. There's some big old trout right here at the outro of Cat Lake. I actually almost stepped on one when I came across, and right there in the water you can see the tail and the back end. Oh, he's backing up. There he is. Big old trout right there. There he is. Oh, big boy, huh? Retracing my steps down Cat Creek from Cat Lake. This is right around the area where I spooked that lion off trail. In all probability, it's miles away at this point, but I'm keeping my head on a swivel. You can hear how loud the creek is here. That, combined with the fact that the wind was blowing opposite of me, was what led to the very fortuitous circumstances that let me watch that beautiful creature for an extended period of time. Back on the main loop trail, I've got a couple more miles to cover this afternoon, and then I'm hoping to break off trail to find a campsite at Horse Heaven Lake. A big dead forest covering these slopes. The day has remained crystal blue, pretty hot, in the 70s, and sunny. Based on the shape and location, I believe that to be Pyramid Mountain, which means I should be very close from my cutoff trail to head towards Horse Heaven Lake. I've heard people refer to big down timber like this as grizzly sidewalks, because they say that grizzlies can use them to easily navigate through the woods, but I'm the big grizzly today. I've seen no semblance of a use trail out here. I think what I'm going to do is head straight up that ridge ahead and hope that the lake is on the other side. Made it up the first ridge. There is no lake here, so I will climb another ridge. This one looks even steeper. Horse Heaven Lake is a bear to get to. Since I've already renamed one lake today, I'm gonna keep the ball rolling and rename this one Lane Heaven Lake. I'm gonna poke around the shoreline and look for a place to pitch my tent. Home sweet home. Out to one side of the campsite, I've got a big open view. Surprised to actually find this nice of a campsite here, considering the lack of trail to the area. And far away to the front porch is Lane Heaven Lake. The Nez Perce chief sought the help of Coyote to end the Seven Devils' reign of terror. Coyote asked his friend Fox for advice, and together they hatched a plan. This little fella claimed my sunning rock. I reckon I'll have to find another one, huh? Let's take a look at the map for day 2. Starting at Lower Cannon Lake, I retraced down 126 to connect back to the main loop trail, past Hanson Creek, up to Cat Creek, took that to Cat Lake, retraced to the main loop, and followed that up to then break off trail to Lane Heaven Lake. Day 2 was about 10 miles. Day 2 has been an outstanding day in the Seven Devils Mountains. Of course, the highlight of my day, almost certainly this trip, and quite possibly my entire upcoming summer, was getting to follow that mountain lion. Many people hike their whole lives in cougar country and are lucky to just catch a fleeting glance. To get to follow him for 2 or 3 minutes was something that was obviously super lucky, and I probably couldn't expect to happen again for my entire life. Camp set up, I've got dinner in me, and time to settle in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 2. Good night. Good morning. Made to day 3, my backpacking trip in Idaho. Restful night last night, the lows stayed in the upper 40s. Today, I have what I expect to be my most challenging day of the trip. I've got to do a big climb and then lots of up and down after that. I'll have to traverse 2 snowfields. Some hikers have been able to make it through the snowfield. Some hikers have been forced to turn back and abandon the loop as recently as 2 days ago. And I'll have to carry the water throughout all this because there's no reliable source between my camp now and my camp for the night. So a couple big challenges on the docket for today. But I'm finishing up breakfast, gonna get camp packed up, and then it'll be time to hit the trail. Last night I commented that I was surprised there was such a nice campsite, considering there was no use trail. A smarter observation would have been, I'm surprised there's no use trail, considering this nice campsite. And after poking around, I did find what appears to be the use trail, heading into and out of Lane Heaven Lake. Looks to go down the opposite side of the drainage than I came up. So I'm going to follow that down and connect to the main loop trail. Made it back to the main trail. I followed the use trail for a little bit and then lost it. I would say if you're looking to travel to Lane Heaven Lake, if you see the use trail, follow it. If you don't worry about it. It's not much easier or harder. Just pick either the left or the right side of the drainage. Avoid the middle streamy marsh, and it's really easy to tell where the lake is. The terrain basically funnels you right up to it. Big slopes, big dead forests, big sky. Another crystal blue day today. Sun shining bright already in the morning. It is going to be a scorcher for my big climbs today. Looking back at where I've been climbing, you can see some of the switchbacks. They continue all the way down, way down in there. Making progress. Drop my pack at the Horse Heaven intersection. And I'm going to cut south up to the top of the hill to enjoy the view, and then get back on my regularly scheduled trail. My first taste of snow travel. I'm actually going to try to walk around up on top of it and pretty much stay off the snow, if possible. Peering west out into the state of Oregon. I made it up to the top, located at the Horse Heaven Cabin. It is certainly a heavenly place up here. Beautiful views in all directions. Here's the little cabin itself. You can't go inside it, but there's two guys camped up here who I'm chatting with. They give me some good info. Here's looking back into the Seven Devils Mountains. There's Pyramid Mountain. Reunited with my pack and back on the main loop trail. I spent about an hour or so enjoying the view up top and chatting with Steve and Ian. They're doing the loop the opposite way of me, so they gave me some helpful information to get me through the rest of the trip. Figuring these must be my two big snow cruxes, and they are absolutely steep straight down. Slip is not going to end up well for anyone, especially myself. But I've received some information on how to tackle them, so hopefully I'll be able to make it across safe and sound. Made it past my first pair of snow cruxes. I've got one more later on, then should be mostly smooth sailing. Enjoyed a nice lunch right on the trail. I've covered 5.5 miles so far today, but as the crow flies, I'm only about a mile from Horse Heaven Lake, right on the other side of Pyramid Mountain to the right. I reckon this is my second and final snow crux. The instructions I've been given was to go down to the bottom of it and pop back up. So that's what I'll try to do, as safe and sound as possible. Whoop whoop. Made it across. And that should be the last of my snow worries for this trip. This little bird just popped out of the bush, scared me. He's got a little nest in there, so I'm going to move on, not stress him too much. This unsigned intersection looks to be where I'll break off the main trail, head towards Baldy Lake, where I'm looking for camp. As I approach Baldy Lake, I'm heading right towards Devil's Throne in the middle, and the Twin Imps to the right. First look at Baldy Lake. I'm going to scout around the shores and find a place to pitch my tent. Home sweet home. Just a little ways up from the base of the lake, I found my camping spot. Coyote, fox, and the other clawed animals dug 7 very deep holes on the devil's yearly path. They filled these holes with lava and waited for the devils. Here's a look around camp now that it's set up. That big rock dead ahead has a really nice log placed for what looks to be a comfortable seat that I'm going to take advantage of in the sunlight. Baldy Lake in all its glory, flanked by the 7 Devils Mountains. Let's take a look at the map for day 3. Starting at Lane Heaven Lake, I retraced back down to the main loop trail, followed that to the intersection for the Horse Heaven Cabin, and then back on down, continuing along the main loop to eventually come to the unsigned intersection for Trail 69 to Baldy Lake, where I'm set up for the night. Day 3 was about 9 miles. Day 3 has been another great day. Past my 2 biggest cruxes of the trip, the snowfields. Enjoyed the beautiful views from the top of the Horse Heaven Cabin area, and have yet another stunning lake campsite to enjoy. I've got dinner in me, camp set up. I'm going to settle in for a relaxing evening, and that'll be the end of day 3. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 4. My backpack in the Hells Canyon National Recreation Area. Another restful night last night. Lows in the 40s, and the first rays of sun are starting to hit my campsite, and I'm enjoying that nice warmth. An exciting date today. I'm going to hike out to what is called one of the best views in Idaho and one of the best views in all of America, the Dry Diggins Lookout. So that's certainly a highlight to look forward to. I'm going to finish up breakfast, get camp packed up, and there'll be time to hit the trail. Bye bye, Baldy. Thanks for the hospitality. Back down to the main loop trail. I did forget to mention this morning that today is July 4th. Happy birthday, America. The trail has got really overgrown. I'm actually pretty surprised with how much traffic comes through this loop, that there is so much overgrowth. Just the way it goes, I reckon. Well, the main trail is turned from an overgrown forest into an overrun stream. Breaking off the main trail to take the side trail up to Echo Lake and perhaps even He Devil Lake. I will say that the first few miles of my day today have been my least favorite of the entire trip. The trail ranged from mildly overgrown to completely overgrown. I even had to flick a big tick off. And for a place that has a dedicated work center with multiple cabins, the Seven Devils Work Center, I've been pretty surprised to see an abject lack of trail maintenance done this year. I haven't seen any clippings, haven't seen any fresh downfall cut, so I'm not sure what exactly they're doing at that work center. Here's Echo Lake. It's a pretty one. I'm gonna try to keep going, see if I can make it to He Devil Lake. He Devil Lake. All these interior lakes require pretty rowdy climbs to get up to, but they've all been worth it. Sweet island there in the middle of He Devil. I'm gonna eat a quick snack, enjoy the view, retrace my steps back to the main trail, peering down on Echo Lake. I've returned to the main loop trail after checking out Echo Lake and He Devil Lake. After an overgrown start to the morning, things are looking up for me, both literally and figuratively. The trail appears to be clearer ahead, and I've got a big climb to get up to the Dry Diggins Lookout. Time to knock that out. I put my head down and slogged to near the top of the 8,000 foot plus Three Creek Peak. Believe it or not, these are not the most spectacular views that we're going to enjoy. Dry Diggins is still ahead. My first view of the Dry Diggins Lookout. I'll have to drop back down, then climb right up. Thus begins what I hope to be my final climb of the day. My legs are feeling a little bit like jelly, but I am definitely excited to check out Dry Diggins. Only a half mile away on the top of a mountain. Just ahead is a big herd of elk. A bunch of babies, handful of big ones. Looks like a healthy herd with all those youngsters. Awesome. For whatever reason, they're moving towards me, but I'm sure that'll change here. There they go. I'll let them get out of the area. Counted at least 12, maybe more. Looks like one day they just decided to pack up and go. left all their stuff here and said sayonara. Dry Diggins lookout. Looking southwest into Oregon to the Wallowa Mountains. Coming around to the southeast, the Seven Devils Mountains pop into view. From the northeast, panning around to the north, is the incredible Hills Canyon of the Snake River, over 6,500 feet down from here to the bottom, the deepest gorge in America. That is certainly tough scenery to tear oneself away from, but I've got my eyes set on a new site, the chain of Bernard Lakes down there, one of which is going to be my home for the night. First of the Bernard Lakes, which is a lily pad covered pond, there's quite a bit of deadfall to get down from Dry Diggins to here. The second and much nicer Bernard Lake. I'm going to go one more to the last Bernard Lake, and that should be where I find camp. Bernard Lake number 3. Home sweet home. I about swear out here in the Seven Devils there are more fire rings than level camp pads, but I found the spot where I'm going to set up just above the third Bernard Lake.
Next year, the devils fell into the deep holes and became trapped. As Coyote watched their struggles, he told the monsters that he was punishing them for their wicked ways.
Camp set up, and if things get dicey tonight in terms of cold, I've got not one, but 2 fire rings within 5 feet. Let's take a look at the map for day 4. Starting at my campsite on Baldy Lake, I retraced back down Trail 69 to the main loop trail, followed that up to Trail 129 to Echo Lake and He Devil Lake, retraced on down, continued to follow up, and then took the trail up to the Dry Diggins viewpoint, not to be missed, and then followed back down to the intersection and set up camp at the bottom Bernard Lake. Day 4 was about 11 miles. Day 4 has been an awesome day. Yesterday was supposed to be the most challenging day of the trip, but today definitely has me the most tired. Started out a little rough with the bushwhacking in the morning, but everything was up, up, up after that. A pleasant surprise to see that herd of elk, and then the view from Dry Diggins was everything that it was advertised. I've got dinner in me, camp set up. It's time to settle in for a relaxing evening. That'll be the end of day 4. Good night. Good morning. Made it to day 5. My backpack in the Hells Canyon National Recreation Area, Idaho. Another calm, restful night last night. Lows in the 40s. The sun was still shining when I went to bed, but that's just the way it goes this time of year out here. Today is my chillest day of the trip. Mileage is in single digits. Water should be accessible at many points along the way. I'm going to hike into the Sheep Lake Basin and explore a good handful of beautiful lakes. I've got breakfast in me. I'll pack up camp and there'll be time to hit the trail. Couple big brushy blowdowns right on the start of the trail this morning. A little adventure. Started down on the far side of that basin. Decent little climb to get the day kicked off. The blood is pumping. Making good time toward Sheep Lake. Basin Lake, the first stop on my lake hopping day today. And it's a pretty start. I think we've got even more scenic lakes ahead. Shelf Lake, the second lake on my lake field tour today. This is actually the lake that I'm kind of planning on camping at. But I'm gonna go check out the rest of the lakes, and I might come back here. It'll get me a little shorter day, final day, so we'll see. Gem Lake, another pretty stop. And there's He Devil towering over the area. Climbing up from Gem Lake toward Sheep Lake, quite a bit of snow remaining. The trail keeps cutting in and out of these banks, but I know people have gone to and from Sheep Lake, so I don't think it'll get too much worse. First view of the spectacular Sheep Lake. Switched back down to the lake, and I've picked my way about halfway around it on a little fisherman's trail that looks to peter out on this rock face. Yet another crystal blue day. Paired that with the crystal blue waters of Sheep Lake, surrounded by the Seven Devils Mountains. I mentioned yesterday the proclivity out here for building fire rings anywhere people can find enough ground to put a couple rocks. There's two right beside each other. Here's another one. A little fire ring. And another random fire ring. Here's the fourth fire ring in a 1/10 of a mile stretch along the trail. At least this one kind of looks like a campsite if you wanted to set up real sloped. Fifth and sixth campfire. At least these are more reasonable. I could see campsites here for sure. Number 7, although this one is a perfectly reasonable spot to have a campfire. Nice site. Number 8, fairly reasonable site as well. 20 feet from numbers 5 and 6. Leaving Sheep Lake behind after my tour of 8 campfire rings within less than a quarter mile of each other. I'm going to retrace my steps back to Shelf Lake, get set up there. Sheep Lake, a beautiful place dominated by the Tower of Babel and She Devil. Home sweet home. Got a nice private campsite on the southeast shore of Shelf Lake, close to the inflow.
Coyote turned the monstrous Seven Devils into high mountains so all could see the consequences of their actions. He then created Hell's Canyon to prevent any more devils from ever heading east.
This campsite comes complete with its own personal waterfall. My neighbors up at the main camping area are doing it up in absolute style with some raft action. There are dozens and dozens of trout sitting right off this little feeder stream. Let's take a look at the map for day 5. Starting at my campsite on Bernard Lake, I followed the trail number 57 down to connect with the trail leading into the Sheep Lake Basin, number 123. I went all the way down to Sheep Lake, walked around, came back, and then retrace to Shelf Lake where I'm set up camp. Day 5 was about 8 miles. Day 5 has been another great day. The hiking was filled with beautiful lakes of different varieties, and yet another stunning campsite tonight on Shelf Lake. I've got camp set up, dinner's in me. I'm gonna settle in for a relaxing last evening of the trip. As long as nothing crazy happens, that'll be it for day 5. Good night. Good morning. Made the day 6, my backpacking adventure in the Seven Devils Mountains. Had another calm, restful night last night, right up until the morning time. I was about ready to get out of my tent anyways, and I heard a little noise outside. I thought maybe it's a couple of squirrels playing around. There's a bunch of squirrels out here and they're pretty bold. So I said, well, I'll get out, shoot them away, get my day started. Poked my head out of my tent. It was not a small squirrel, it was a snow white moose. And after I was momentarily taken aback, I realized that's no moose, that's a mountain goat. And there he is right now. Oh boy. Anyways, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, it was not a moose, it was a mountain goat. And I reckon in my whole life I've never seen a mountain goat up close, and I just assumed they were the size of regular goats. They are not. At least this one wasn't, as you have now seen. More closer to the size of an elk than a goat. But he came back by, you know, he was respectful, he stayed out of my camp area and just kept it moving. So that was definitely a cool way to start the morning. I'm gonna finish up breakfast, get camp packed up, and my date today is only about 7 miles out. However, I have heard that I should not underestimate this last portion, that it's a lot of up and downs. So I'm gonna finish getting ready, and it'll be time to hit the trail. Let's take a look at the map for day 6. Starting at my campsite on Shelf Lake, I'll retrace Trail 123 up to the main loop and then follow 124 down back to the Windy Saddle trailhead. Day 6 will be about 7 miles for a trip total of approximately 50 miles. Oh, he's coming right towards me. Hey, buddy, I'll just back away. Hey, buddy. He's a curious fella. I'm staring at him, he's staring at me. It's a good old-fashioned Mexican standoff. Alright, he blinked first. Now he's going right back towards camp. Oh, hey buddy, oh, come back this way. No. Oh, there, come. Bye-bye, Shelf Lake. Thanks for the hospitality. I finished retracing my steps back out along the spur that leads into the Sheep Lake Basin, and from here on out, the trail will be all new to me. Looks like there's some smoke haze coming into the area. Either that or my glasses need a good cleaning. They weren't lying about up, down, up, down. There goes my trail right back up. Far, far out in the distance are Oregon's snowy Wallowa Mountains. Big hump in the middle is Three Creek Peak. Little hump in the middle is the dry Diggins Lookout. And then there's the top of Hills Canyon of the Snake River. Right in between these trees, I can see the trailhead, but I do believe I've got one more big down and up before I make it. As feared, the trail went all the way around and down that last mountain and all the way around and up this mountain. Took the better part of an hour to get from that vantage point to here. I'm just a couple hundred yards from the finish line. There's a welcoming party for me at the trailhead. I am dirty, sweaty, stinky, real stinky, cut up, bruised, scratched. I'm hungry, a little sunburned, my feet hurt, my legs are tired, and I had an absolutely incredible time hiking the Seven Devils Loop on steroids. The weather was 100% perfect, the mountain and lake scenery was top notch, but beyond all that, this is the best wildlife sighting trip that I've ever had. From the not once in a lifetime experience, but once in a dozen lifetimes experience of the lion, to the elk with all their babies, to the multitude of trout, to my buddy Billy the goat who is bulling with me in camp this morning, the fauna of the Hells Canyon National Recreation Area put on a show. I need to head into town, resupply, get cleaned up, and prepare for my second ever backpacking trip in Idaho. Until next time, thanks for tuning into Lane's World. Goodbye.